Welcome to EHM All Access. It's the podcast where we bring you in-depth conversations with the people shaping life here on Eastern Long Island. Every episode, we dive into the stories, the music, and the voices that define our community. From local leaders to the musicians you know and love and hear on EHM. And all throughout this summer, we're catching up with many of the performers taking the stage at this year's Great South Bay Music Festival at Shorefront Park in Patchogue. In this episode, we chat with Mystic Bowie of Talking Dreads. It's a high-energy, kind of genre-bending project that reimagines Talking Heads songs through a Caribbean lens. And Mystic talks about how the band came together, the joy of reinventing iconic Talking Heads songs, and the infectious live spirit that's made Talking Dreads a festival favorite over the years. We'll get into his musical roots, his creative approach, and what fans can expect when the band comes to the Great South Bay Music Festival stage. Enjoy our conversation with Mystic Bowie on EHM All Access. It's the EHM Breakfast Show with Harry. EHM All Access, the Great South Bay Music Festival, and what a lineup this year. A chance to talk to so many different performers at this year's festival. It's kind of exciting to do this, and there's a whole bunch coming to perform at this year's at Shorefront Park in Patchogue. It is, of course, GreatSouthBayMusicFestival.com to get all the details. And joining us, Mystic Bowie, Talking Dreads. Mystic, how are you?
I am doing excellent, man. How are you doing?
Very good. I didn't realize this was your first time doing the Great South Bay Music Festival.
Yes, and I'm actually very super excited. I've done a lot of festivals, obviously, but I have to say I made sure. Told the fans, because they keep asking me, when are you coming to the Great South Bay? I'm like, I tell you what you need to do. Contact the Great South Bay and request us. So apparently that's what happened.
Well, you're Friday, July 24th. You're on the Jambalaya stage at 7:15 p.m. Mystic Bowie's Talking Dreads. And I mentioned, of course, Talking Dreads because Talking Heads, reimagining the classic Talking Heads songs through the reggae lens, which is always just a lot of fun. When did you realize that it wasn't just fun, that this was something that people wanted and you could tour with?
Basically, I know from the get-go. I've been on tour, not many people know, but I've been on tour. I am the frontman for the Tom Tom Club.
Yeah.
And Tom Tom Club consists of drummer and bass player from Talking Heads. So Talking Dreads was a very easy marriage, to put together. So basically, I was on tour with Tom Tom Club when the offers were coming in for a reunion for Talking Heads.
Yeah.
And I realized it's not going to happen. So I literally turned to the members of Talking Heads. And I said, what do you think if I reimagine your songs? And they said 100% we're in support of it.
Wow. That's great. You got the real support from when you reinterpret a song. What was the first thing you look for in it?
Basically, I interpret songs that actually have some kind of meaning to me as an artist. Not just to remake a song. Yeah. Just for the fun of it. Talking Heads to me is one of the most intricate, lyrically advanced, funky group. Yeah. And for me, as a Jamaican, I've been touring really early, with Chris Blackwell from Island Records. So listening to Talking Heads music my whole life, it was already ingrained in my head that there's something about these lyrics and the rhythm of these songs that I would love to play with in my own way. So it was a perfect move at the perfect time, I think.
Was there certain songs that you just knew you could do it, and there were others where you weren't sure if they could kind of survive the reggae transformation?
I chose all the songs that I know that would work perfect in reggae. As a matter of fact, Talking Heads music, it's so rhythmic. Every single one can be translated into reggae. It's just which one is easier. For example, Love Building on Fire. Love Goes to Building on Fire. That was not one of my choice. It turned out to be one of the most successful ones. Oh. And what happened is, when I was going to record those songs, I went to Seymour Stein, who discovered Talking Heads among a lot of the greats, Blondie, B-52s, you name it. He was the founder of Sawyer Records. Then went over to Warner Brother. And I asked Seymour, I met with him in his office in New York. I'm like, I am going to record Talking Heads music in reggae. He said, you will have my blessing if you do one thing on it for me. I said, what is that? He said, Love Goes to Building on Fire. You have to record that one. I asked why. He said he was walking past CBGB's. That's the song he heard this group of kids were playing in CBGB's when he stepped in and asked who they were, and somebody said they call themselves Talking Heads. That's when he discovered Talking Heads with that song. So I did that in his honor. Long live you, Seymour's time.
When you kind of convert a Talking Head song or a kind of groove into reggae, what's the most like the hardest part, the most challenging part to kind of preserve for it? Because in a way, it's a balancing act, I'd imagine, because you want to make sure you honor the spirit of the song as well.
Correct. I made sure that I maintain the integrity of Talking Heads' message. So what I do, I did not change any of the words. I told the same story, but I figure if I can put my genre of music to it, then their lyrics is basically now telling my story as well. So I try to maintain the respect for them.
Is there one song that kind of surprised you how well it adapted to reggae? It was kind of easy to do?
You know, Once in a Lifetime. Once in a Lifetime so far has been the most played song on that record. And it's just the story behind it. You know, you may find yourself living in a shotgun shack. You may find yourself in another part of the world. I left Jamaica as a child and moved here to sing with a band that doesn't play reggae.
Yeah.
And I came from a reggae to sing with a band that is alternative rock punk and a touch of hip hop. So that song was basically almost like David Byrne written the lyrics for me.
That's true. And now, conversely, the song that kind of was natural. Was there one that you kind of fought with a little bit, but finally kind of cracked it, where it took you a little longer than usual to get it to work?
You know, one of the songs that gave us, I wouldn't say challenge, it's just that we recorded it like 3-4 times, 3 different styles, to before we could decide which way to go, and it's House in Motion. So when I was recording, I take a step back for a minute. We went back to Jamaica to record these songs. I made sure I brought it back there because I want to, as much as I want to maintain the integrity, quality, and respect for Talking Heads' work, I want to also put a real official, authentic reggae spin, reggae ska Caribbean spin from my direction. So I went back home and I got all the original musicians that were at Compass Point in the Bahamas hanging out with Talking Heads members back in the days. Wow. And those are the musicians that I got to record on these songs. You know, so one of the person as well who sung on one of the songs with me is Cindy Wilson from B-52s, sung on the song Heaven. Because, again, I wanted us to bring in friends of Talking Heads, people who understands Talking Heads, who've been there with them,
like a bridge.
Who work with them. Yeah. You know, and so that song House in Motion, we recorded a slower reggae version and we weren't feeling it. And then we went to the ska version, we still weren't feeling it. So we said, listen, how about if we mix some mento, calypso, and soca together and just make it our own little genre? So that's what we did with House in Motion.
Wow. You spent years performing with Tom Tom Club, and I'm curious, what did Chris and Tina kind of teach you about kind of experimenting that kind of has stuck with you through today?
They taught me, honestly, everything that I know about music.
Wow.
Because keep in mind, I was discovered by Jack Ruby when I was 9 years old, singing in church. I know nothing about music, basically.
Wow.
When I was 14, before my 15th birthday is the first time I left Jamaica to start performing internationally. From there, that's when I met, all the members of the Talking Heads and all those bands, B-52s, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I met all those guys, Grace Jones, in Bahamas at Compost Point Studio at Chris Blackwell's place. I maintained the relationship and contact with most of them. So when it came down in 1992, when Chris and Tina, a friend of ours, had reached out and said, well, I need you to be on this Mardi Gras festival in New York at the old Tramps. I don't know if you remember that place.
Okay.
And I said, well, I didn't have a backing band. They said, don't worry, we have a backing band for you. They're based in Connecticut. And I said, well, I'm currently living in Connecticut between here and Jamaica. So they gave me the address and I drove in. They didn't tell me who the band was. They gave me the address to go show up to meet these people and start rehearsing for the festival. That is 1992. Wow. I showed up in the driveway. It was Chris and Tina, the Tom Tom Club. From then, I became a member and we became family. So recording this music, it was very easy because I could bounce back ideas from them. I've learned so much from them as far as professionalism, 100%. Being on time, punctuality. Unfortunately, most Jamaicans have this a little too laid back. They actually call me here, they call me in the States a type A Jamaican. Because I'm always 20 minutes ahead of time.
That's great.
But I learned everything from them I know about music and the music business and punctuality.
Interesting. Talking Dreads just have such great energy on the stage when you're performing, bringing that to the Great South Bay Music Festival this year. What's one of the secrets to kind of keeping that intensity consistent night after night? Because it is a grind, touring and doing shows. How do you keep that energy up?
To be honest with you, in the music world, kind of like what you call the outcast. And the reason why I say that,
wow,
my body does not have to recover the next day from anything else except for being tired. Because I never drink alcohol, I never smoked, I never tried drugs. Being in the music industry, especially the rock and roll world, I've never tried any of those things because, again, I was surrounded by these amazing adults who made sure that I didn't do what they were doing.
Wow.
I remember Sly and Robbie, I would be performing, doing stuff with those guys, and they'd be like, okay, we're about to do some stuff. Get in the back. Same with Chris and Tina, they would never do anything around me. They're very respectful people, and I think that's one of the things that keep me going with the same energy night after night, because my body, again, like I said, my body doesn't have to recover from anything except just being naturally tired from singing and performing.
Was that hard though? Because I feel, obviously it's a good thing. It's more, you're able to do these shows now and into the future, well into the future. But was that difficult? Kind of being, it's nice that they protected you, but almost at the same time, I feel like in the moment were you kind of annoyed by it a little bit?
Yes, but at the same time, I was always, each time they corrected me and point me in the right direction, I would have flashback of what my grandparents would say to me, such as, don't put anything in your body that's not necessary.
Wow.
So it was hard, it was annoying, but at the same time, it was easy because I was brought up. I was raised in a household in Jamaica where mother didn't smoke, father didn't smoke, older brother didn't smoke, sisters doesn't smoke, none of them smoke or drink. So basically, it was fairly easy for me to maneuver.
That's really interesting. With these live performances, where you do have such amazing energy, you're also working with a lot of different bandmates. How do they contribute to kind of reshaping these songs? Is it collaborative? Do you work with them I'd imagine off the stage too. How do you work as a team to kind of get different sounds, different inputs from these bandmates?
Basically, I enter into art very open-minded. You see, if I wanted was to sound like every other reggae band, I would have just got all Jamaicans to be my backing musicians. Instead, what I do, I mixed it. I have musicians from other Caribbean islands. Majority of my musicians are Americans because I wanted was to have that blend. I get bored really easy. I did not want to be stuck in just sounding like every other reggae band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So me being open-minded and bring everybody else in and ask them for their input. I don't just go to musicians and say, well, this is how I want you to play it. Instead, what I do, I said, listen, these songs were recorded. I need you to learn the recorded versions. Then when we go into the rehearsal space, I need you to be creative. If you cannot be creative, you're not a fit for this group. You know what I mean? So I give everybody a space for them to create so we can have this amazing international blend of reggae Caribbean.
Do you remember, and this goes back a bit, I'm just curious, I was just thinking about this as you were speaking about these Talking Heads songs. Do you remember the first time you heard them? How old were you?
The first time I heard Talking Heads, I think maybe I was about 10, 12. And keep in mind, Chris Blackwell, basically who was the mogul, the king of Caribbean music, promoter, the owner of Island Records. He founded and owned Island Records. He managed Bob Marley. He worked with a lot of bands such as Tom Tom Club, members of Talking Heads. He worked with every single one of these new wave bands at some point or another. So it was one of those things where I did not much difficulty. It was not much difficulty having that coming from that background, listening to that music that Chris Blackwell would have funneled into the radio media in Jamaica. Because when you're that big, you don't just listen, your radio stations in Jamaica are not only going to play Caribbean music, they're going to play whatever is handed to them. And, Jamaica on a whole, to be true to you, back then, now you'll have an R&B station in Jamaica, a rock station. You have stations of different genres. But back then, the two radio stations would play every single genre of music across the board in every single language.
Wow.
Because especially we used to hit a lot of Spanish music. We're surrounded by Spanish music because Jamaica is the only English-speaking island in that region of the Caribbean.
That's very interesting. Wow. You were exposed to a lot.
Keep in mind,
yeah.
From where we are, Jamaica, we have next to us, we have Puerto Rico, Haiti with Dominican Republic, Cuba. We're literally surrounded by other cultures. So the wave, when you turn your radio dial back in those days, it would pick up whatever is available.
I'm curious, have you spoken to David Byrne about this? Because I'm sure he's aware of this project and everything. Have you ever had a chance to chat with him and get his thoughts on your reinterpretations?
No, I have not, but I've got feedback from him through other folks that spoke to him about it. David, he's amazing. The truth is, all members of Talking Heads, none of them opposed. You're all very well in support. And if they weren't in support, even after I recorded it and presented to Harry Fox or to Warner at the time, they could have just knocked it down.
Yeah.
Instead, they embraced it. And a matter of fact, what's really awesome, members of Talking Heads, they show up to most of my shows within their regions.
That's great.
They literally come to most of my shows as long as it's within close proximity to where they are. That's amazing to me.
It's the real support that actually that's action speaking louder than words even.
Indeed.
To support you. That's so cool. Are there other Talking Head songs you haven't touched yet that you're kind of considering?
There are quite a few that I plan to. We actually weeding through right now because the next album that I plan to put out will be a mix, half originals, half talking heads.
Oh, nice.
So there's so many great talking head songs. Now we've been discussing it, going through to figure out which six do we record.
That's got to be a long
next?
discussion. Yes.
And they're all great songs, so it's difficult. But yeah, we're working on that.
Would you ever consider doing other artists in kind of this Talking Dreads style, or is that something you've considered?
I've considered it, and I will eventually. For example, on the current album, it's a self-titled album, Talking Dreads.
I've seen
on this album, there's a Grateful Dead song.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so basically, I do plan to do other artists, some of my favorites. I'm not going to say. I'm not going to tell you. But I've already chosen about 30 songs.
Wow.
From like 13 different artists, which I'm going to be picking from to record as well.
That's very curious. You've piqued my my curiosities. I'm very interested to see what the future holds for Mystic Bowie and all the different projects and more reinterpretations. But also, it sounds like you're working on original music too.
Yes, I am. I've been releasing original music for most of my life, and yes, I currently have about, I think, 21 songs currently recorded, mixed, mastered, ready to go. But I want the right label. I don't want to put it out on my own. The thing is this, I know my weakness. My strength is to write, record, produce, and perform. My weak point is trying to promote a song. Trying to be a label, per se. I'm not the guy. So I'm waiting for the right label to come by, somebody that I can trust and work with. Then I just start handing them material to put out.
Well, I can't wait to see you live. Coming to the Great South Bay Music Festival this year, and it should be a lot of fun. GreatSouthBayMusicFestival.com. Get the full lineup, everything you need to know. Mystic Bowie's Talking Dreads goes on 7:15 around. That's on the Jambalaya stage, Friday, July 24th. And grab tickets, GreatSouthBayMusicFestival.com. Thank you for coming on. This was really interesting, and I'd actually like to talk to you more in the future when we have more time. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing you live.
Thank you very much for having me, and I do look forward. This was fun. I didn't see this as an interview, just so you know. I see this more like a little chit-chat, and I love it. I enjoyed it.
I really loved it, too. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.